there's the cost of time that often farmers don't value. Like we say this a lot, farmers, they don't value their time. That they'd rather, consider that like $4 or $5 an hour versus like they're the most important person on the farm. Let's maximize the time that they have. And so being able to add that to the equipment cost has been, really, really valuable for farmers.
Welcome to Agbioscience, the #1 podcast in the world for innovation in food, animal health, plant science, ag tech, and agriculture. Here is your host, Agrinovus CEO, Mitch Frazier.
Welcome back to Agbioscience. Tough commodity markets and a challenging ag economy is putting pressure on all elements of the ag bioscience economy. One of those is equipment. New data from the Equipment Manufacturers Association shows that tractor sales in the U.S. were down nearly 20% in the most recent month reporting. That's year over year. One entrepreneur is bringing to market a new technology to help those farmers maybe keep their tractors a little longer and better manage their fleet. Welcome, Tracey Wiedmeyer, CEO of Gripp. Tracey, it's good to see you on Agbioscience.
Glad to be here. Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Looking forward to it.
Well, we are going to have a lot of fun, Tracey. We got to start with what this current economy is. You've spent a lot of time with farmers, a lot of time with equipment operators. What are you hearing? What's the current state of where we are?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on the intro, we're seeing, farm equipment being written down 40, 50, 60%, year over year. You buy $1 million piece of equipment, it's worth $400,000 now. And I think what farmers are telling us is, look, when we get into next season, we're not looking to buy, we're looking to maximize what we have, make it last a little bit longer, maybe look at the used market. It's just a tough market for everybody all around.
Yeah, it's tough when you think about the overall balance sheet of ag producers. And one of the greatest, the most significant asset classes is equipment. And to see that level of depreciation and to see just the tough market overall creates a massive challenge.
Yeah, and it's the expensive equipment everybody focuses on, and then you look at everything that a farmer owns.
That's right.
And they've got aging equipment and fixed assets and motors and elevators and carts and all sorts of stuff. And those are the things that you want to get 1 more year, 2 more years out of before you have to think about replacing.
Maintenance, a giant piece of that. You're out on farms talking with operators every day. When you're having these conversations and they're sharing with you the stories, what are some of those stories that you're hearing of producers and how they're making things last a little longer and the things they're doing to maybe eke out another season or two?
Yeah, it's really around making the operators that you're already paying to touch your equipment every day the eyes and ears of the operation. Right now, historically, the farm manager, the one guy, the owner, is responsible in terms of remembering when the oil change was done, when to flush the hydraulics, when to do fuel, all that sort of stuff. And what we've seen is the more you can collectively get the rest of your staff to be the eyes and ears and hear the squeaky bearing or the leaky seal before it becomes a problem, the better you're able to maximize that equipment. And we work with an apple producer. I think like 6 vehicles in the last 30 months have had engines blow out. Wow. Before 60,000 miles. Oh, the last guy thinks that he changed the oil. The next guy's going to fix the check engine light, and nobody does anything for a while. It burns out of oil, and now you're stuck with that equipment.
And it's so difficult when you look at the criticality, the mission criticality of equipment in ag. It's not like you go pick up another one, right? You don't run down to the car lot and pick up something. These are specialty pieces of equipment. Ag, whether it's in row crop or whether it's in specialty crop. You mentioned apples. When you look at this, I mean, you've looked at this market, you've spent time in this market, you and I share a love for this market. Yep. Where do you see the greatest opportunity for innovation? Where is it where in all of this austerity, all of this challenge, all of this headwind, you feel like there's something here?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of agronomy data that farmers have now. There's, you've had a bunch of podcasts on recently about collecting all this farm data. Right. And there's sort of the human-centered part of that with the folks that you're operating, that are operating your stuff today, your trusted partners. We see a lot of farms bringing third-party mechanics, their trusted agronomists, irrigation specialists. So they're generating off-farm data that the farmer wants at their fingertips. So it's like, how do you take data that may not originate on the farm, but bring it into the farmer's fingertips so that they can look holistically at their operation to understand simple trends, operator-based or equipment-based, or just simple things that may improve the yield, the health of the soil. It's that data that's being collected in disparate places that just has to be brought together.
I think surfacing that data, making it easy to understand. You've come up with a product. You and the team at Gripp have come up with a product to make a lot of that data available from the driver's seat. Share more about that product and really what led to the creation of Gripp.
Yeah, so I think the genesis of Gripp was maintenance tracking in ag is underserved, right? That's a very broad category. So we started to walk the farms and listen to farmers, and what we heard was, I own a lot of things, not just the stuff on tires, and we're using whatever's available to track. I don't want, as a farmer, to have to bring in a food safety app, a grain app, a tractor app, a DOT app, a this app, a that app. And so farmers, instead of trying to pay by user licenses for 7 or 8 different apps, they say, I'm just going to use consumer apps, a spreadsheet, a piece of paper. Right. And I'm gonna keep everything there because I don't necessarily know what else might be out there, but everybody knows how to operate those. I can bring in a seasonal guy. He knows how to use WhatsApp. He knows how to text people. He knows how to take a picture. And so when we heard that, we started to think, how can we take the best of these analog methods, the best of consumer apps, bring it together in one place, remove the friction and barrier, and then enable the rest of the operation to take part in that. That's what we've done. Like things like WhatsApp, group text, Slack. Every corporation uses Slack or Teams or some sort of chat app.
Right.
How can we bring that in to centralize the conversations around equipment, so we don't have to train people how to use the app when they scan that QR code and they're right there, information at their fingertips.
Walk us through a use case. So I'm your Apple producer. Let's use your Apple producer you mentioned earlier. How would I interact with Gripp? What would it look like, and what would it do?
Yeah, so Apple and specialty in general is unique in that those providers are generally packing. They've got logistics, warehousing operations. So let's just take forklifts in a warehouse.
Okay.
One of the Apple packers has 70 electronic forklifts. They're running 3 shifts a day. And so you can imagine 3 shifts times 7, you got 200 people operating these forklifts. And so the velocity at which they're running these things every day, a lot of things go wrong. Things like seat belts, tires, the mirrors don't work, a whole host of problems. And generally those create safety issues. They create OSHA inspection issues. And so with Gripp, what we've done, instead of having the operator remember to, walk to a desk, log what's wrong on a piece of paper, they scan the QR code. They've got like a 4 or 5 point inspection. It happens in 20 seconds. They scan, tap, put their phone away, go on their merry way. And then what we're able to do then is the problems that get notified go right to the farm manager. So now he's got a thing in his to-do list where he can fix. Another example might be, bag calibration weight. So one of the Apple packers will sell 5-pound bags to Walmart and Costco and those types of companies. They've noticed their bag weights are upwards of 16% overweight. Right. So you're doing $1 billion of apples and you're 16% over. Imagine the cost that's fleeing that you have no idea. You can't historically look at a sheet of paper and understand those trends. And so we're able to pull that stuff out very simply by making the operators the eyes and ears. And now you've got data that you can actually do something about. It
is amazing how accessible QR codes have become, right? I mean, if you remember, think back a decade ago, and you kind of see a QR code here or there, but during the pandemic, it just became how we interacted with menus. Yep. And now we're seeing technologies like Gripp now become pervasive in ag, in business. It is incredible. One code to be able to get that access. Yeah. I was at a dealer yesterday here in Indiana, and some of the manufacturers are now putting QR codes on the equipment, and it's not. A lot of historic QR code usage has been one code for every piece of equipment. It just takes you to the website. That's right. But now they're getting into the mindset of saying this QR code is unique to this asset, similar to what we do with Gripp. But putting more of that information at people's fingertips, everybody knows how to do it. Everybody's got a mobile phone. Again, there's no friction, there's no training. People just get it and understand how to do it. It's incredible. We'll take a look at how customers are using Gripp and what the future of this technology looks like in ag. We'll do it right after this. Agbioscience is supported by Indiana Farm Bureau.
From berries to dairies, from crop advisors to data analyzers, Indiana Farm Bureau is at the forefront of the top issues impacting Indiana agriculture. No matter your role in the ag industry, Indiana Farm Bureau membership means you'll always have a champion and an advisor. And because so much of your time is focused on your own enterprise, It's also good to know Indiana Farm Bureau is always working to fight for the future of agriculture. We come together to advocate for rural viability, the protection of property rights, competitive tax policies, and against burdensome regulations. Whether our members need a door opened, an impact in public policy, or an ally to strengthen their communities, Indiana Farm Bureau is there. We are the unified voice for all agriculture. To learn more about the benefits of Indiana Farm Bureau membership, go to infb.org.
Welcome back to Agbioscience, talking with Tracey Wiedmeyer, CEO of Gripp. Tracey, incredible technology. I love the elegance of it. Elegance by definition, simple, easy to understand, easy to use. What are you hearing from customers? You've got customers out there, they're using the technology. What's the feedback?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of feedback, really since we launched in March of this year. And it generally ends up being some flavor of what else can we provide on the Gripp platform that would allow you to move 100% of your conversations, operational conversations, to Gripp. So one instance of that is there's a dairy, again, in Indiana. We work at dairies in Texas, all over the country, but 90% of the folks on those farms are Hispanic, Spanish speakers. And so we see a lot of historic, you've seen that the stories, somebody using Google Translate, trying to copy and paste back and forth. They don't understand. They may know a few words, but it's not enough to bridge the gap. And so we've enabled things like automatic Spanish-English translations in the conversations. And boy, something as simple as that using AI tools today makes all the difference in a farm, being like everybody understands, transparently what needs to be done, what's happened, how to ask questions. Like that barrier goes away. And it's one of the things, like we talk about saving money in under maintenance, over maintenance, the equipment side of it, but there's the cost of time,
right,
that often farmers don't value. Like we say this a lot, farmers, they don't value their time. That they'd rather, consider that like $4 or $5 an hour versus like they're the most important person on the farm. Let's maximize the time that they have. And so being able to add that to the equipment cost has been, really, really valuable for farmers.
The origin story of Gripp is also one that I think is fascinating. You're a longtime tech leader, guy who loves equipment. Didn't come up with the idea, right? Team at Purdue University, the work with DIAL. Share more about the origin story and then the magnetic pull that brought you in to say, okay, I could do lots of things. This is what I'm going to do. Yeah.
So Purdue's been great. I mean, they've got such a network in Indiana, but really, it spans the globe if you go far enough. And so you're accessible. That network is accessible to bounce questions off of, be sounding boards, bring ideas, to Purdue. And that's really the genesis of where Gripp started. Is they were hearing enough farmers and enough people in the ag community say, look, there's a serious problem here. It's been underserved. It's overlooked, outside of ag. Sure, they've solved that, but farmers are different. And so I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, dairy farm. We did chickens, we did, goats and sheep and heifers and things like that. And that ability to grow up on a farm has translated into my adult life where I, live on a large chunk of land now. I own tons of equipment. And, so being a technologist my whole career, I've dabbled in and out of industrial, IoT, waste management, things like that. And when I found the idea through a connection at Purdue, I was like, man, I get to put my work boots on every day, walk into the office, out in the field, spend time with farmers. I open the back of my skid steer and it's got all the filter dates and when I change everything written in black marker. Yeah. And of course, all they're out of date. I don't remember to look. And so that genesis of bringing together technology and agriculture and being able to shake the farmer's hand has been phenomenal. I love it every day.
Talk a little bit about this. I think there's so many folks that are in your seat, people who grew up in rural America, who maybe grew up on a farm or grew up farm adjacent, who have gone on to do great things vocationally. Technologist, in your case, doing some amazing work in advancing innovation, but they've not yet found that bridge to get back, to unite their roots in rural America and agriculture with their connection vocationally to innovation. How did you do it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really interesting question. I think what we're starting to see is, no different in Indiana. It's the same in Wisconsin, Iowa. Some of these rural communities are really putting a spotlight on bringing innovation from outside in. There's every one of these states now has, technology development programs, low interest loans. You look at the coast, you see a lot of folks that didn't grow up in the coast, and they've been supplants from middle America. And I think with the ability to work remotely now, people are starting to move back and migrate back to where they grew up. There's a real hands in the dirt type of mentality that people like. And so when you have that mentality and willingness, plus the ability for communities and governments to support that, you get this migratory effect back to these places. And I think when you think about taking technology that might work in the valley and bringing it to these places, there's real opportunities, whether it's biological, ag tech, software, hardware, robotics. You're seeing a real galvanization of that in these places.
What did you do, Tracey? After you left the farm, before you got to Gripp, fill us in, connect the two dots.
Yeah, so I immediately went to Chicago as a software engineer. I got the startup bug pretty early.
Yeah.
I started a company when I was 28, 29. We raised a ton of venture. We were selling 3D software to large brands and retailers. I did that for 10 or 12 years. And what ended up happening is, I left that company and got into private equity. And private equity is just different than building a company, right? You're just trying to dress it up to sell it to the next guy. And it just didn't hit with me in terms of my builder mentality and background. And so that then drew me back to looking at places where I could either start a company, join an early stage company. And I really, when I came to High Alpha, which is our venture studio partner, I was like, hey, Elliot, can I get is there something that's industrial at least? Right. And when he said, hey, go talk to Purdue, they're churning out ideas in ag, it was like the holy grail for me to bring those things together. And, to speak very early on in my career, early there was a stigma around the farm boy, the farm kid. And, I didn't vocalize that a lot, especially being in a big city like Chicago. But I pretty quickly realized that my work ethic and what I learned on the farm allowed me to outpace people that, went to Harvard or Michigan or all these Ivy League schools. And I'm so thankful for that, today. And now, like you always say, the, ag and ag biosciences and agri-food touches every human on the planet. And that really is such an emotional note with me.
And it's such a powerful force for change, for innovation, for the things that you and I get to do every day. Time for one more question.
Yep.
It's the one that I know that that's coming because we ask it every interview. What's next? What's next for the equipment industry, maybe at large, and then what's next for your team at Gripp?
Yeah, I think the equipment industry at large is again, we touched on this, but maximizing the assets that people already own today. Yeah. I don't know when this is, this sort of low point in ag right now is going to turn around. A lot of people on the sidelines right now. But I think there's a real mentality that will outlast the low points here, just around, do we need the $1 million new piece of equipment every year? And I think there's a lot of things that have to be sorted and figured there. I think for Gripp, we're looking to bring the network together on Gripp. So farmers are asking us, hey, I have trusted partners, again, that are generating information for me or doing work for me or recommending things. Can I bring their information into the platform so I can have that at my fingertips? And that's a real, a real distribution and network effect that we're looking to bring, across the ag landscape.
Well, Tracey, I'm glad you're doing it. Tracey Wiedmeyer, CEO of Gripp. Thanks for joining us on Agbioscience.
Thank you. I loved it.
And thank you for joining us on Agbioscience. You can always get the latest Agbioscience news and insights from discussions just like this by subscribing wherever you get your podcast. And don't forget, you can always learn more online at agrinovusindiana.com. On behalf of the entire AgriNovus team, I'm Mitch Frazier, saying thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you real soon.
Ag Bioscience is a podcast by AgriNovus Indiana, hosted by Mitch Frazier, produced by Kayla Chittister and Fabian Rodriguez, photography and design by Kaylee Kerr. If you liked today's episode, subscribe, rate, and review so we can bring you more conversations just like this. Get all episodes of Ag Bioscience at agrinovusindiana.com.